Well, here we are again. JoJo Chapter 4, Dio Brando, the Invader Part 3. So we're just continuing after the Dio kissing arena scene. This first panel, she's like ripping off his shirt, which like, damn, that's gotta be some impressive strength. To just rip a shirt off with your bare hands like that, especially when you're like taken aback at the shock of being kissed, because like she couldn't have been anticipating that. And the two guys who were with Dio is like, oh wow, Dio's this really cool guy, huh? Yeah, he does everything we're too afraid to do. And then we get a really cool close-up shot of Dio. He's got a really cool pose. I've always really liked this pose. It looks pretty dynamic. And yeah, he's like, oh, you haven't kissed JoJo yet, have you? So the first person you kissed was I, Dio. Ha ha. And this is another point when I initially watched this where I laughed. It's like it just seems kind of like a stupid thing, because like, okay, sure, that's technically assault, that's what Dio did. He assaulted her, but he's all like, oh well, I had the first kiss, so la-di-da-di-da, even though he doesn't really care about her. So it's like it doesn't even matter, really. I don't know. Late 19th century rich people culture is kind of foreign from what I've experienced in my life. But yeah, it's like, oh, it doesn't matter that I forced it. It's the fact that I kissed her first. Now her relationship with JoJo is ruined. She sees JoJo next, she won't be able to get this horrible memory out of her head. Especially if she was raised to be a lady. I will turn JoJo's heart into a desert. I will never let him have any friends or lovers. Without anything left to live for, he will be nothing but an invalid. And he's really going overboard with that whole ruining JoJo's life thing, isn't he? Like, get a life, dude. You're saying, oh, I'm gonna end JoJo's social life. Like, what about your own? Like, sure, you got a couple friends, but it looks like they're kind of just there because you're cool, because you're kind of a dick. And then Arena does some queen shit here. She fucking washes her mouth out with mud, as if to say Dio's kiss was less than mud. I think that's pretty cool. And the two guys mentioned, oh, hey, what's she doing? Why wouldn't she just use soap? There's even a river nearby. She could have just washed out in the river. And Dio is really fucking pissed. And there's this weird, like, moving effect with, like, his eyes and mouth. Araki does this a few other times this part. It's just kind of weird. I get that it's meant to like convey motion, but it just looks kind of weird. And then Dio's really pissed, and Arena just gives him this really defiant look, which is just awesome. Because like we haven't really seen anyone stand up to Dio so far. She's kind of the first one. And Dio gets mad. He hits her. And, he's like, oh, shit, I can't lose control. I gotta leave. And then the guys all leave. So, new scene, we get, some new Jonathan drip. I guess Araki from 1987 listened to my complaints from last chapter. Because we don't really get a close-up of this outfit. Looks like he's wearing a vertical striped button-up shirt. He's got the fishnet stockings again. That's kind of the only things of note this time. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot else. He's playing with Danny. Another manga-only scene. We've been running into a lot of manga-only scenes. He's playing with Danny. He he kicks his shoe off for Danny to catch. George and Dio are watching from the balcony. And Dio's like, wow, Danny's pretty well trained, isn't he? And George is like, oh yeah, JoJo was solely responsible for his training. Yeah, Danny can close doors and put out fires and stuff, but JoJo doesn't give him orders. He considers him a friend. And Dio, he gotta notices this. He's like, huh? Friends? JoJo has a friend? What? And, yeah, George says JoJo was kind of a loner, so I got that dog for him when he was 5. And then we get this small little flashback scene. And an interesting thing is that all the panels in this little flashback have, like, rounded corners. I guess to, like, denote that it's not happening in the present, which, like, other mangaka have done something similar, like Oda for One Piece. When there's a flashback, the pages will be black rather than white. And if it's a flashback from, like, something that happened just, like, a few hours ago or something, it'll be gray instead. It's just something like that. It's pretty cool. Again, we don't really get much of a look at the new Jonathan Drip, the 5-year-old Jonathan Drip. Although, for 5, he is really killing it. He's got, like, a tan sweater on, Windsor nut tie, slacks. Yeah, it looks like Dio on the balcony might be wearing something new, but again, it doesn't really show much detail on that, which is a little disappointing. I wasn't, Rocky, I wasn't saying not to give them attention, I was saying to give Arena attention too. Anyways, the flashback is like, oh yeah, I got got Jonathan, Danny, as a pet. Jonathan didn't like him. He would tease him, like, pick up the broom and, like, swipe it at him and throw rocks and shit. But one day, Jonathan fell in the river. He couldn't swim because he's only 5, and Danny comes to save him. And, yeah, ever since, they've been good friends. And, yeah, Dio's just thinking about this, pondering it to himself. We get this really cool-looking panel of him with all this sinister-looking shading. So that's foreshadowing to come. Next page, we got this cool little cloud effect. It looks like it could have been, like, photocopied from an actual photograph or something. I don't know. But he did it. He gave Arena Drip. I'm very proud of him. So she's wearing this dress. She's got, like, this giant ribbon on her waist. She got, like, some collar stitches. Looks like, yeah, it's a pretty cool looking dress. Jonathan's wearing something new. Looks like he's wearing kind of like a tuxedo blazer. He's got that old tiny bow tie thing, sweater vest. And so Jonathan notices Arena, and he sees she's sad, and he's like, wait, what's wrong? And then she runs off, and it's like, where are you going? Then the neighborhood boys, they come around the corner, they're throwing rocks at Jonathan to get his attention. And they're like, oh wow, what a loser JoJo is, huh? Huh? Hey, you think someone's gonna tell him what's wrong? And they're like, no, I don't want to see JoJo sad. And then Jonathan, he gets mad. He gets really mad. He's like, what did you do to Arena? And then we cut to the mansion. Jonathan is just running towards the front door. He's got fists of fury. And he just yells, Dio! The top of his lungs. We get a really cool close-up shot of his face. He's fucking pissed. Dio's reading the book. He gets up and he's like, what are you doing? Why are you yelling my name in vain with those clenched fists? She's like, I'll never forgive you. This isn't about your hatred towards me. I don't care about myself. And he's like, oh, well, I guess you've heard about Arena, huh? You're planning to take revenge? He's like, jealousy is unbecoming of you, JoJo. And we get this really cool pose-off scene. They're both in cool poses. I love Dio's pose. He just looks really so cool. And Jonathan goes for a punch. Dio blocks it, shoves his elbow in Jonathan's face, and he's wearing his fucking jacket, and he's got blood on it, and he's smearing his elbow into Jonathan's face, and it's like, bruh, you're ruining your jacket. Stop it. Why? You're ruining a perfectly good jacket. And Dio's like itching for a repeat of our boxing match. Nothing but a fool. And then Jonathan thinks to himself, there's this cool shading thing where he's kind of like grayed out. He's like, I'm no match for him. But I can't afford to lose now. If I lose, I'll be living in his shadow for the rest of my life. I have to do this. And then Dio finally has the sense to take off his jacket. It looks like he's wearing some suspenders. Looks pretty cool. And Dio's like, I will physically teach you that you will never be able to beat Dio in a fight or in life itself. Then the two go at it again. Jonathan goes both fists at Dio. Dio blocks it. He goes to kick Jonathan. Jonathan just has no recoil for some reason, and he grabs right onto him. Dio's like, huh? How'd you do that? I kicked you. And then Jonathan just goes for a fucking headbutt. Just fucking bops Dio in the teeth. And then he starts wailing on Dio. He's like, I won't stop until you cry, Dio! And he fucking punches him right in the face. End chapter. Wow, that was really good. The whole part so far, we've been seeing Jonathan just take L after L. And he's finally dishing out an L to Dio. What a chapter. It's a real chapter. Last page we got a cool looking drawing of Jonathan. He's got like one of those, what do you call them? Like small top hats, small tan top hats. You know what I'm talking about. You're just looking at it. He's wearing that. He's wearing a tan suit. He's got his fingers on his right hand in a weird pose, and he's yelling at something. He looks pretty cool. But yeah, that was a chapter. The trip wasn't as great this chapter. There just wasn't really as much interesting, especially compared to the last chapter. It was like every other page was new trip, and I got to stop and comment on all the new trip. He gave Arena a trip. I'm very glad about that. It's too bad she doesn't really show up for much of the story, but yeah, things are heating up. Jonathan's finally he's finally getting Dio. And it's been what, this is day 4. In real life, this would have been like a month into the serialization. Imagine how that must have felt for people who were reading this weekly back in the day. But yeah, that's a chapter. I think we got one more chapter of this Dio Brando the Invader arc, and then we'll be done with that. There'll be adults, and some Stone Mask stuff can start happening. But yeah, until then,